Hey guys, and welcome to one more episode of Builder Nation. For today's agenda, we have Michael Markesbery, co-founder and CEO at Oros, the outdoor brand building the best insulation technology on the planet. So welcome, Michael. Super happy to have you here. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited. So I'm Michael Markesbery. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Oros. We are a material technology company. We create the most advanced thermal materials in the planet. We took the same tech that NASA was using to insulate spacecraft, like the Mars rover, and figured out how to re-engineer it for applications here on Earth, like apparel. So that's Oros in a nutshell.
So I know that you have a science major. So why the interest in outdoor, or like why entrepreneurship?
Yeah, when I was in college, my sophomore year, I went backpacking across Europe, and I ended up climbing the tallest mountain in the Northeast Swiss Alps. Incredible experience, one really big problem. Got to the top of the mountain and I looked like the Michelin Man. Tons of bulk and tons of layers. And I thought that there had to be a better way to cut the bulk and still stay warm. So I came back to the US, and in college, I was a science geek, and I started looking at every single industry or vertical that was using insulation to try to find a solution for this Michelin Man problem that I had on top of the mountain. And I found out something pretty interesting. I found out that the problem that I had with insulation in apparel was the same problem that was had in every single vertical of insulation. Cold chain packaging, for example, there's $35 billion of temperature sensitive medication wasted annually due to failings in temperature control. In buildings and structures, we're spending 50% of the world's global energy consumption simply to heat buildings and structures. It's incredibly energy inefficient. Defense was begging for advances in thermal materials and energy. And so two things became clear to me. It became clear, one, there was no solution for this Michelin Man problem. And two, the problem was a lot bigger than just apparel. The problem was insulation. So I then ended up getting pretty lucky. I got a scholarship created by the Mercury 7 astronauts called the Astronaut Scholarship. And through that scholarship, I learned about this NASA technology called aerogel. And NASA said, hey, this is the lowest thermal conductive solid in existence, meaning it's the best insulation on Earth. And so I'm like, well, hold on, wait a minute. It can get down to negative 450 degrees Fahrenheit in space. Like, if this thing is really that good, if aerogel is really that good of an insulator, how come it's not being used ubiquitously, like in every piece of insulation on Earth? Like, would certainly solve the Michelin Man problem I had, right? Where I was like the Michelin Man on top of the mountain. And found out that aerogel is super brittle. If you poke it, it shatters into 1,000 little pieces. So really bad news bears for pretty much any application. And at that point, Riff, co-founder of Oros, and I became maniacally obsessed with figuring out, how do you take the best insulation on Earth, this aerogel stuff, and just make it flexible and durable so you can use it in whatever application you want. The school went to the wayside, but by our senior years of college, we ended up creating the world's first flexible and durable aerogel composite in the world, solar core foam, which is what's out in the world today.
Wow, that's super interesting. Okay, so how long ago was this? Like 5 years ago?
Yeah, so we graduated college in 2015. So in 2015 is when we launched the company. So it's been close to 7 years.
Wow. So it's been a long path. And is there a way that you can break down maybe the advantages of Oros, like talking about technical superiority?
Yeah, of course. So solar core has two benefits over every other insulation on Earth. The first is it's warmer. It's been tested against over 250 other insulations, every synthetic, every natural, every foam, every lofted insulation. We have yet to find something that beats it from a thermal performance perspective. And that's great, it's warmer. The real value proposition gets back to the challenge that I had on the mountain when I looked like the Michelin Man. And it's the same challenge that exists ubiquitously in insulation. Everything from building and home insulation to rocket ablatives, every insulation that's ever existed has needed bulk or loft to work. That is not true with aerogel, thereby not true with solar core, meaning for the first time in history, you can have a thin amount of insulation that gives you significant thermal value. That's really the big difference. Or said another way, for apparel, for example, it means for the first time in history, you don't have to look like the Michelin Man to stay warm. That's really the big difference. And so with our original technology, solar core foam, those are the benefits compared to other insulation.
To other companies. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. This is really interesting, especially because most of us think that whatever you need in order to be warm, you need to be like a Michelin Man. So really interesting what you're sharing. And I wanted to ask you, like, since you're the co-founder and also the CEO, like, how do you balance between product innovation and then the business building?
That's a great question. Oros's internal model is science the shit out of everything we do. And certainly that started with Rith and me in a college dorm room creating solar core. But that mentality holds true ubiquitously across the business. Take like marketing, for example. Marketing, you have a hypothesis. Ad A is going to work better than ad B. You put both out in the world and you test your theory, right? Just like you would in science or innovation. And you learn either you're right, ad A does work better than ad B, or you're wrong, ad B works better than ad A. And in that case, there's a beautiful opportunity for learning, right? Now you have a new best ad and you can question why that's the case, if this ad's working better. And you can reformulate your hypothesis and try again. And so to me, innovation is company building, I guess is what I'm saying. Because this philosophy of science the shit out of everything we do holds true ubiquitously across every aspect of the company.
Okay, so it's been a really long experience. Pretty sure that you have had a lot of challenges in between. What would you say it has been the biggest one? Maybe talking about the business or the technical part.
There was one of Oros's core values is have grit. And it's such an important quality in people, and something that Rith and I really value. Oros itself is ancient Greek for mountain, and for Rith and I, it's a symbolic reference to the sacrifice and the climb that's involved with reaching the peak. So that's why we call the company Oros, and that's how much we believe in grit. And when we raised our first round of capital, we got a term sheet, which is great. We signed the term sheet, and in the term sheet, there's a no shop clause, meaning you can't, once you sign it, you can't go pursue other investors. And so we signed this term sheet, and then this investor dragged their feet for several months up till the end of this no shop clause, which is kind of taboo. You don't really do that. And at that point, we were really low on cash. And then I got a call from the investor that put in the term sheet saying, hey, sorry, we're not going to do the deal. And the term sheet falls apart. And then not 30 minutes later, a car that was driving on the highway veers off the highway and drives straight through Oros offices, totaling everything. So in about an hour period, our lead investor dropped the term sheet. We're running really low on cash, and now the entire office. And at that point, Rith and I had an all hands on deck meeting, not at the office, obviously, because it was destroyed. And we called on all of our advisors, all of our board members. explained the situation. And in about a 2-hour period, we came up with a roadshow. We had a bunch of investors planned, and we were going to drive cross country and meet with all of these investors. And in about a month, we ended up signing a term sheet with better terms than the terms that we had initially. And so to me, this quality of have grit is immensely important.
I'm pretty sure you thought that that was the worst day of your life or one of the worst days, especially talking about the business side. But wow, look how everything like changed in like a month, right? You're mentioning. I'm really glad to hear this story because at the end of the day, it's a story of success. So congratulations on that. And I wanted to ask you, like, since Oros is like a 100% direct-to-consumer brand, like, do you think that the internet is the best place in order to scale a brand like yours?
Believe it or not, a good portion of our business, actually a majority of our business, comes from our partnerships and work with the United States Department of Defense and our amazing partners like LL Bean and Cabela's and the like, where we take our insulation technology and partner with these companies or institutions for various applications. On the apparel side, our own Oros Apparel brand, D2C is certainly a beautiful channel because you get to control the awareness. You know, it's a much easier channel to generate awareness. The beauty though of brick and mortar is people get to touch and feel and experience the technology platform versus just seeing it. And the more senses you engage, the higher your conversion rate, the more enthusiasm and excitement. Like for example, we just launched on the apparel brand, we just launched a pop-up in Chicago on Saturday. Oh. And for the opening, we had astronaut Kathy Thornton at the opening. Kathy has had over 975 hours in space. She is in the U.S. Astronaut Hall of Fame. She is also a PhD scientist in nuclear physics. Wow. She's amazing. And we brought her to the store and she did this amazing talk and had this incredible engagement with the audience, and we had to turn people away. There were so many people at the store. But that type of engagement and community building, you don't really get in a digital environment, or it's hard to recreate in a digital environment. I think digital certainly has its advantages. But I think each channel has advantages, and it just needs to be tailored towards whatever your strategy or goals are.
Wow, that's incredible. I can wait until I try my first Oros. I know that you're in the US, but are you planning to expand anytime soon?
One of our largest customers on the apparel brand side is Japan, believe it or not. A good portion of our revenue comes from the Japanese market. They've been a great partner, and it's been really incredible to see the traction and success in the Japanese market.
And for example, I mean, I know that this is not like the typical outerwear, if you can put it like that, because it's so special that not a lot of people, I think, they can fully understand what this is about, what this new tech is about. So most of the people, I'm thinking, they probably think that it's expensive or that it's not worth it, or I don't know, people can think things, right? So how will you say you have educated people in some kind of way in order to demonstrate the value proposition that Oros has?
So I'd say two things to that. The first is we very strategically have chosen our price point, meaning we're upper middle market or we're premium. We're not luxury, but we're going to be more expensive than, on the apparel brand side, more expensive than the North Face, Columbia, the like. And so we very purposely picked our price point to match our customer base, number one. And then number two, in terms of the education, it's got to be visual, as tangible as physically possible, and it's got to be quick. So for example, one of the demos we did early on in the company was we took a tank of liquid nitrogen, which liquid nitrogen's, negative 321 degrees Fahrenheit. It's pretty cold. And we put an Oros teammate in one of our jackets and would put thermal sensors on either side of the jacket and would spray liquid nitrogen onto the person wearing a jacket. And the outside thermometer would break because it get so cold, but the inside would stay incredibly warm. And so very quickly and tangibly, you get this experience, this tangible, surreal experience about the product performance. And I think it's the more tangible you can make it, the more quick and surreal, surprising rather, the easier it is to explain the performance.
Well, do you happen to have that kind of videos on your video page?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, super excited to see, because I've seen videos of Oros, but I didn't see that one. Super excited to get to try one of them. Hopefully when I get to the US, I will get to do so and jump in the pop-up store, of course. But the last but not least, I wanted to ask this last question. Do you have any advice for future entrepreneurs starting on this path?
When Rick and I were graduating college, we had an advisor friend who said, Michael, you have two choices. You can either hire a CEO to build this company, or you can build a group of advisors and mentors that know far more than you do about the various areas of your business. And we obviously went the latter route. And that advisory group and those mentors have been key for Rith and my and Oros's success. So I guess my advice is don't be afraid to have the humility to engage mentors and advisors, but it's a dichotomy because you want to also have the confidence to take action and pursue your goals and not spend all your time strategizing. So it's a double-edged sword, and it's a tough balance to find, but don't be afraid to engage mentors and advisors.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that advice. Super helpful, especially for all of the entrepreneurs listening to us at this time. So thank you so much, Michael, for taking the time. Do you have any social media handles? Where can people find you? Where can people follow you?
Yeah, our website is www.orosapparel.com. You can find any of Oros's apparel gear there. We also have social handles, same social handles on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and the like.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And remember, guys, that you can also find more information, interesting articles, interesting interviews just like this one with Michael directly on our website, ControlHub.com/builder-nation. We would love to hear from you. And once again, Michael, thank you so much for taking the time and for sharing your advices with us.
Thank you. Honored to be here.